So, Rudy, yesterday, Mark Carney was in Egypt for the signing of that peace accord, along with Donald Trump, and then there was this rather interesting moment. Take a listen to this.
You have Canada. It's so great to have, in fact, the president called and he wanted to know if it's worthwhile. He knew exactly what it was. He knew the importance. Where's Canada, by the way? Where are you? Where are you? He knew the importance of this. He said, I want to be there. So many people have done that. They called. I mean, they heard about it. And these are not people that can do that very easily. They have pretty big schedules, to put it mildly. The most powerful people. And I appreciate you being here very much, Mr. President. Fantastic. Fantastic.
That's right. Mr. President Mark Carney, who later jokingly thanked him for referring to him as president. I love when Donald Trump said, where is Canada? As if for just a second. He meant, of course, Mark Carney, but still it sounded kind of cute. Rudy, give me the take on this. First of all, we should point out, and you want to mention this, right? Carney had to basically get a private jet to get there, right? There were no planes available?
Yes, it was very interesting because President Trump did mention that it was very hard for some heads of government and head of states to make their way to Egypt. But it was the case for Canada because there were no plane available for the Prime Minister. Normally, the Prime Minister has access to 3 VVIP planes, which are normally Airbuses. But I don't know what happened. Maybe it was because of the long weekend, crew were not available, and the Prime Minister had to charter a private plane to go to Egypt and not take the regular Royal Canadian Air Force planes that are normally available for him or the Governor General, for example. So first of all, it was funny because it was difficult for Mark Carney to make his way to Egypt. He had to, as I said, charter the plane, and President Trump referred to him as President Carney. And when Prime Minister Carney did mention it to him, oh, you just promoted me to president, Donald Trump laughed and said, at least I didn't call you governor, which is what he used to say, which he used to say to Justin Trudeau. So we can say that we have a good bon entente between President Trump and Prime Minister Carney. But at the same time, today, the tariffs on softwood lumber on Canada and all the other countries just went up. So let's say that it's good and bad. We have a good relationship. At least Prime Minister Carney has a good relationship. I do think it was important for him to be in Egypt. But at the same time, tariffs are still on Canada and even higher today on softwood lumber.
Well, to what you just said, Rudy, why was it important for Mark Carney to be there, do you think?
It is important because don't forget, it's been 2 years. We've been talking, you and me, a lot about it, to have at least the hostages released, which it did happen. Some of the bodies are still being given from Hamas to Israel. But at the same time, what is the role that Canada is going to play? Is Canada has been a supporter of Palestine and provided money and assistance to Palestine and the West Bank. Second of all, is there going to be an international administration of Gaza? That's the second aspect normally of the Trump peace plan. So what role Canada will play? So I do believe it was important for Canada to be there just because of the commitment we made in the past when it comes to humanitarian aid. And also, don't forget that we have to continue to put pressure on Hamas to make sure that they follow through on that peace agreement.
All right, fair enough. Let me ask you the next question, which is something we talked about with our listeners about an hour ago, a little under an hour ago. The situation where Canada, we have the Chinese ambassador saying for the first time, actually on tape, I mean, we heard him say it, that if Canada removed the tariffs on Chinese EVs, China would remove the tariffs on Canadian canola and pork products. And then the question becomes, and what I posed to the audience was, this is not a decision for Canada to make one way or the other, right? Because you have farmers in the West affected by this, you have automakers in Ontario and Quebec, and you have, of course, Donald Trump to have to deal with because they have an existing 100% tariff. How does this play out in your mind?
It's going to be very difficult because don't forget that it was very difficult for Prime Minister Trudeau and Prime Minister Carney to kind of show that Canada is united when it comes to the United States, for example. But now if you have this situation with China and you already heard the Premier of Saskatchewan and Manitoba saying that they've been hurt by tariffs from China and that they want to have more access to their agricultural products to China. And on the other hand, you have Doug Ford who said, hell no, we already had a situation with the U.S. We cannot allow to have EVs from electrical vehicles from China. So the difficulty is to kind of maintain that united front. And to be honest, I believe that China knows exactly the dynamic inside Canada. They know that they can divide us. That's why I believe the comment from the ambassador was targeted, especially to see if there's going to be a break in terms of the unity. Especially, don't forget that at the end of the month, Prime Minister Carney is supposed to attend the Asia-Pacific Summit in South Korea. He's supposed to normally have a bilateral meeting with the president of China. So I do believe they're just laying the ground for that meeting. And if Canada is not going to respond, maybe there won't be any meeting, and that will be difficult for Canada to re-engage again with China.
Where do you think, personally, if you were betting, where do you think this plays? Does Canada make this deal with China or not?
No, I don't believe so, because we're already in a situation that, first of all, we have to be on the side of the U.S., especially otherwise the U.S. and President Trump will just use that against us, saying, look, don't forget that the decision that was taken on electric vehicle was taken under the Biden administration to make sure that we support the auto sector of both the U.S. and Canada, because we've been saying all along it's an integrated supply chain, so we need to keep that North American advantage.
Okay. Yeah, you wonder, I had some texters who said, you know what, it's time to realize that regardless of whether it's Trump in power now or whoever the next president is going to be, that relationship between our countries is damaged and that we should just go ahead and do this deal and kind of the hell with the U.S.
I understand some people will say that, especially agricultural products in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, but the problem right now is normally Prime Minister Carney said that he's negotiating with the U.S. Let's see what he's going to land when it comes to the Canada-U.S. relationship. Are we going to have some lower of certain tariffs? Are we going to maintain, for example, the manufacturing of autos and auto parts from Canada to the U.S.? Maybe on a second phase, if we don't have any agreement, maybe we can revisit that decision. Okay. But for the moment, I just think that it wouldn't be as we are negotiating with the U.S.
All right. Meanwhile, Anita Anand, our Foreign Relations Minister, is in India trying to salvage or at least perhaps repair, Canada-India relations. What do you think comes of this?
Yes, that's also very, very important. India is a fast-growing economy. We need some export to India, for example, also agricultural product. We cannot have both China and India. Canada cannot be in a situation where you have both the Indian and the Chinese market, which is closed. So I do believe that it's a good thing that they had a meeting, that there's now a roadmap, that they reestablished diplomatic relationship, that they restarted what we call a business forum to make sure that both Canada and India can have some business people traveling from India to Canada and vice versa. So I do believe it's good that we re-engage, but we have to make clear to the Indians that we are not going to allow any foreign interference, and we know why it all started, because there was a Canadian citizen who was killed, and perhaps the Indian government was involved.
So that, of course, under Justin Trudeau became a major sticking point. We're now trying to repair that damage. Is part of that repair, Rudy, do you think, getting the Indian government or the Indian Prime Minister to apologize or note that, or how does it go from here?
I do believe that it was already a sign. Just the fact that Prime Minister Modi accepted to meet Anita Anand, who's the foreign minister. Normally, it's not normal that a foreign minister meets a prime minister. Normally, it's prime minister to prime minister. Just the fact that he accepted to have a meeting with the foreign affairs minister is already a sign that he's looking at re-engaging with Canada. And don't forget that Prime Minister Carney already made a move when he invited Prime Minister Modi to Canada when we had the G7 summit in Kananaskis. They were not part of the list, but Prime Minister Carney did that move, so I do believe that's kind of a sign back.
And I'll just ask you, if you believe that, and this is a good sign, do you believe a trade deal is far behind?
Oh, no. Trade deal, I don't believe it's going to happen. I was part of the Harper government. We negotiated with them for 5 years for a trade agreement, and we were very close, but we couldn't land it, and we had much more good relationship between India and Canada. It is very difficult to have a trade agreement with India. Even the European Union are trying, and other countries are trying. They're kind of Canada. They have a lot of different states, so it's difficult sometimes for the federal government to impose and make sure that a trade agreement is respected all across the country.
All right, we leave it at that. Rudy, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.